What's up, aviators and speed freaks? Welcome to the deepest 20 to 25 minute breakdown you'll find anywhere on the internet right now about one of the wildest aerospace projects on planet Earth in 2025. Hypersonix Launch Systems, a Brisbane-based Australian company that is dead serious about building the world's first operational, reusable, hydrogen-powered, 3D printed scramjet aircraft capable of sustained Mach 12 cruise, that's 12 times the speed of sound, roughly 14,820 kilometers per hour at sea level, or about 13,000 kilometers per hour at 35 kilometers altitude, where these things actually fly. We're talking Sydney to Los Angeles in under 40 minutes, London to Tokyo in 45 minutes, or a military platform that can loiter over a hotspot on the opposite side of the planet before the enemy even knows you launched. And the craziest part? When it's running on green hydrogen, the only tailpipe emission is pure water. Vapor, zero CO₂, zero carbon monoxide, zero soot. This isn't a missile, this isn't a one-shot X-plane. This is a company trying to build actual hypersonic jets that take off from a runway, accelerate past Mach 12 on air-breathing engines alone, do their mission, and then glide or powered fly back home for another sortie the next day. Today we're going paragraph by paragraph through the entire story. The vision, the physics, the SPARTAN engine, the vehicle family, the Australian hypersonics legacy, the eye-watering challenges, the competitors, the funding, the timeline, and why. Despite all the reasons this should fail, I think they actually have a shot at pulling it off. Let's start with why anyone would even attempt this. Normal commercial jets cruise at Mach 0.85 and take 18 hours to cross the Pacific. Concorde did Mach 2 and cut that to 3.5 hours, but burned kerosene like crazy and was retired 22 years ago. Today, the hypersonic world is dominated by weapons. Boost glide missiles like Russia's Avangard, China's DF-21, or America's CPS all go hypersonic, but they do it with rocket boosters and then glide without engines. They're one-way trips. What hypersonics wants is fundamentally different: an air-breathing, reusable, horizontal takeoff aircraft that can cruise at Mach 10-12 for thousands of kilometers under continuous thrust. That opens three killer applications. 1. Point-to-point global express. Imagine FedEx or Amazon delivering critical medical organs or microchips from Taiwan to California in 45 minutes. 2. Defense and intelligence. A platform that can be anywhere on Earth in under an hour is strategically unbeatable. No air defense system on the planet today can reliably stop a Mach 12 air breather. 3. Space launch. Fly to Mach 12 and 40 kilometers altitude, release a small upper stage rocket with 500 kilograms of satellites, and the small of 5 to SMAR. Hypersonic first stage comes home. That's cheaper, more flexible, and greener than any vertical rocket on the market. And because it's hydrogen, if the H2 is produced with renewable energy, the entire flight is effectively carbon neutral. This is the vision. Speed that shrinks the planet, performance that rewrites military doctrine, and sustainability that finally lets aviation stop being the bad guy in the climate conversation. Everything lives or dies with one piece of hardware: the Spartan scramjet. Size-wise, it's tiny. A full engine is about 70-80 centimeters long and weighs under 30 kilograms, yet a single one supposedly produces enough thrust to push a small vehicle past Mach 12. How? Fixed geometry, no moving parts whatsoever, no variable inlet ramps, no fuel pumps, no turbine blades that would melt instantly at 2,500 degrees Celsius. The entire engine is a precisely shaped aerodynamic duct. Air gets rammed in at hypersonic speed, slowed just enough in the inlet to still be supersonic. Hydrogen is injected through tiny sonic injectors, ignites in a standing supersonic flame front inside the combustor, expands through the nozzle, and boom, thrust. The whole combustion process happens in less than a millisecond. The engine is 3D printed in one piece from high-temperature nickel alloys like Inconel 718 or Haynes 230, with internal cooling channels that circulate the cryogenic hydrogen before it's injected, acting as both coolant and preheater. Because there are no moving parts and it's additively manufactured, a new engine design can go from CAD to hot fire test in weeks and costs tens of thousands instead of tens of millions. Hypersonix has already done dozens of ground tests at the University of Queensland and at their new Brisbane facility, and they claim the engine has demonstrated stable combustion from Mach 5 to Mach 12 inches shock tunnel testing. That's the kind of performance that made the U.S. Defense Innovation Unit write them a check. Hypersonix is taking a very smart, stepped approach instead of trying to build an X-43 on day one. First up is DART AE Delta Wing Atmospheric Re-Entry Technology, Advanced Engine. It's 3.5 meters long, looks like a skinny cruise missile with a Wave Rider underside, weighs about 250 kilograms at takeoff, and carries one Spartan. It will be air-launched or rocket-boosted to Mach 5-6, then the scramjet lights and accelerates to Mach 8-10 for 20-30 seconds of powered flight before gliding back. The whole mission is under the U.S. DIU HiCat Hypersonic and High Cadence Airborne Testing Program, and NASA Wallops or PMRF in Australia are the probable launch sites. Flight planned for late 2026 or early 2027. If DART works, the next vehicle is VISR, Vehicle for Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance. 8 meters long, 4 Spartan engines clustered at the back, built almost entirely from silicon carbide ceramic matrix composites that can survive 1,800–2,000 degrees Celsius for hundreds of flights. VISR is fully reusable, takes off horizontally with a small rocket booster or possibly a turbine-based zero stage, accelerates to Mach 8-10 cruise at 35–40 kilometers altitude, flies 8,000–10,000 kilometers range, and lands like the space shuttle. Think of it as the hypersonic successor to the SR-71 Blackbird, but 4 or 5 times faster and with global reach in one hop. Finally, the long-term goal is Delta Velos Orbiter, a much larger vehicle, maybe 20–25 meters, designed to reach Mach 12, release an expendable upper stage with 500–1,000 kilograms to LEO, and return. That's direct competition with Rocket Lab's Neutron, or any small-lift rocket, but with aircraft-like operations. Scramjet designer on HIFiRE. Another co-founder, David Waterhouse, comes from Boeing's Hypersonix group. This isn't a garage startup, it's literally the same core team that already did it once for science, now doing it again for business with modern tools like metal 3D printing and green hydrogen. People forget that Australia has been one of the world leaders in scramjet research for a quarter-century. The University of Queensland's Centre for Hypersonics ran the HyShot program in 2002, the very first flight that ever proved supersonic combustion in actual flight conditions. Then came HIFiRE, Hypersonic International Flight Research Experimentation, with the U.S. Air Force and Boeing, 9 flights between 2009 and 2017, hitting Mach 8 plus sustained, still one of the fastest air-breathing vehicles ever flown. Hypersonix co-founder and chief technical officer Dr. Michael Smart was the lead. Let's get nerdy for a minute. At Mach 12 and 35 kilometers altitude, free stream velocity is roughly 3,600–4,000 meters per second. The bow shock in front of the vehicle compresses and heats the air to 2,500–3,000 Kelvin. That's hot enough that molecular oxygen starts dissociating into atomic oxygen, which is insanely reactive and eats normal materials alive. The heat flux on the nose and leading edges can exceed 10–20 megawatts per square meter. For comparison, space shuttle tiles saw about 1–2 megawatts per square meter during re-entry. You have maybe 0.001 seconds to inject, mix, and burn the hydrogen before the flow exits the engine. If the flame blows out or the inlet unstarts, thrust goes from hero to zero instantly, and the vehicle can tumble. Hydrogen helps because its low molecular weight, 2 grams per mole versus 44 for CO2 in kerosene exhaust, gives you theoretical exhaust velocities above 4,000 meters per second, even at Mach 12, whereas kerosene scramjets top out around Mach 7–8 before the chemistry just can't keep up. But hydrogen is also a pain. Cryogenic storage at 253 degrees Celsius, embrittlement issues, massive tank volume, and the ever-present risk of leaks turning into explosions. It's the highest performance fuel we have, but it fights you every step of the way. As of right now, the 17th of November 2025, Hypersonix has closed a $46 million Series A in late 2024, led by Australian and US investors, plus multi-million-dollar contracts from the US Defense Innovation Unit and the Australian Department of Defence. They've built a brand new 2,000 square meters advanced manufacturing center in Ipswich, Queensland, with multiple EOS and Velo 3D metal printers capable of producing a complete Spartan in under a week. Static hot-fire testing of flight-weight engines has been running since mid-2025, and they've already done integrated vehicle ground testing with DART AE. The vehicle itself is in final assembly. Guidance, avionics integration is complete, and they're waiting on range scheduling for the first flight. Most analysts expect the first DART launch in the second half of 2026. VISR Critical Design Review is scheduled for 2027, with first flight maybe 2029. 2030 if everything goes perfectly. Cycles. But still on JP8, Jet A, for now. Though they have hydrogen plans later, Venus Aerospace in Houston is doing the Stargazer concept with rotating detonation engines on hydrogen, aiming for Mach 9+. Then you have the big defense primes, Boeing, Lockheed, Raytheon, all working classified, hypersonic strike, and ISR platforms. But 99% of those are hydrocarbon or solid rocket-based. On the pure hydrogen plus reusable scramjet plus commercial angle, Hypersonix and Destinus are basically the only two public horses in the race. Let's not sugarcoat it. The failure modes are spectacular. Hydrogen storage on a hypersonic vehicle is unsolved at scale. You need either huge cryogenic tanks with active zero boil-off systems or ultra-high-pressure composites, both of which kill your mass fraction. Thermal protection after a 10-minute Mach 12 cruise is brutal. You're basically doing a shallow re-entry every single flight. Material fatigue, leading-edge erosion, and engine life are all question marks. Regulatory approval for hydrogen aircraft is basically non-existent. And finally, scramjets have a notoriously narrow flight envelope. If you drift 1-2 kilometers off your altitude or Mach corridor, the engine unstarts and you're a very expensive glider. Reusability at these conditions has literally never been demonstrated by anyone, ever. Call me crazy, but everything lines up. World-class team with actual flight heritage. Smartest incremental test plan I've ever seen in hypersonics. 3D printing, slashing cost and schedule by an order of magnitude, US and Australian governments paying for the early flights. Perfect test ranges in the Australian outback, and a global push toward green aviation that makes hydrogen sexy to investors. If DART AE hits even Mach 9 sustained on hydrogen in 2026, 2027, that's already the fastest air-breathing vehicle in history, and proof the concept works. From there, scaling to VISR is just materials and integration, not new physics. This is the closest thing we have to a real shot at sustainable hypersonic flight in the next decade. If hypersonics succeeds, we're not just talking about another X-plane gathering dust in a museum. We're talking about the birth of an entirely new class of aircraft that will change global logistics, military strategy, and space access forever, and do it while drinking water and spitting out steam. This is the kind of project that reminds you why we got into aviation and aerospace in the first place. I'll be counting down the days to the first DART AE launch like it's a SpaceX Starship flight. Smash that like button if you want hourly updates when they finally light this beast up. Subscribe. And turn on notifications because this channel will be all over every test flight. And let me know in the comments, would you get on a Mach 12 hydrogen passenger jet in 2040? Clear skies, full afterburner, and see you at Mach 12.